Today we're going to be looking at Manic Panic in the color Rockabilly Blue. So my swatches are human hair swatches, but the only one that is going to be virgin hair is the number 4 black swatch. The rest have been chemically colored or bleached at some point in their existence. Also, the numbers are not synonymous with hair levels. They're really just to keep track of each swatch because I do different video clips and photos near the end of the video. So number 1 is pink. Kind of just wanted to see if it would turn purple under the blue or be covered by the blue. 2 is gray. 3 is a natural red. Again, 4 is black. So 4 to 11 is a range that goes to platinum blonde. And then number 12 is like a toned version of number 11. So to start, we're going to take the dye directly out of the container and we're going to put it at the top of each swatch. Some people do dilute their dyes, so I will do a more diluted version at the bottom of each swatch. Also, please keep in mind everyone's hair is different, which means everyone's hair will take color differently. Plus, different screens and monitors can make colors look different, especially undertones. So please just use my video as a reference for how this could possibly turn out for you. For the diluted section, we're going to do a 1:8 ratio. So that's going to be 1 part of the dye to 8 parts diluter. If you're a little confused about what diluter is, my simple answer that I always give is that it's just something that lightens the color of a semi-permanent dye. Usually each brand will have their own diluter that you can buy and mix if that makes you feel more comfortable. But to keep things more fair, I always just use a plain white conditioner to dilute. So to give my swatches some time to really absorb the dye, I'm going to let them sit for 3 hours. I will then rinse them out, and when they're dry, I'll meet you back here and we'll do some comparisons. This is quite a cool toned blue. I'm actually pretty surprised because even though it does turn slightly greenish blue on the diluted section, it's still pretty cool toned in comparison to some other blues that I've done. So number 1 was originally pink. The direct dye portion is completely covered. I will say it is a little bit darker than like the blonde swatches are, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it looks purple at all. The bottom half is interesting. So the very ends do look like a really pretty light blue, but overall, I don't think it fully covered the pink. I don't know, I feel like I can still see some pink coming in through there. But the pink underneath does make the blue almost have a slightly like periwinkle color look to it, especially when you look at the other ones. You can just see it has a much more cool undertone. So maybe less diluter would get you a better result, or having lighter pink underneath. 2 was gray. Again, I think the direct dye is a little bit darker than the blonde, but only slightly. And same goes for the diluted section. It's just a little bit darker than the blonde swatches. 3 was the natural red. I don't really know if there was a point to diluting this over like the 3 through 7 or even 8, because it kind of gave it a slightly green tone, but all of the swatches still kind of look brown with like a green tone, if that makes sense. I will say though that it does look quite blue, but I do like to also give a warning with darker hair, especially darker virgin hair. Even though sometimes a semi-permanent dye can cover, it doesn't necessarily mean that it will stick and stay long term. So I would suggest a strand test to see if you like the color and to see how long it stays in the hair before you go full force and put it all in there. I'm actually a little bit shocked because I do see a difference on the number 4, but it's not a huge difference. The top part, the direct dye portion, does look a little bit darker. So I'm actually thinking that this wasn't a jet black and it was actually kind of like a more softer natural black. You're gonna have a little bit more luck if the less black your hair looks, but again, it's not like it really looks blue, and realistically just made it look a little bit darker. So if we go back to number 8, you can see a lot more of the blue coming through versus the darker swatches. So even though there's a slight blue tone on these, it seems like your hair has to be at least like a light brown, maybe a medium brown depending on the undertone, to see like a true blue really come through. And I think it looks the best on 9 through 12 on the direct dye, and for the diluted section I think the lighter swatches look a little bit better. That's not to say that it looks bad on the 9 and 10, it just doesn't look quite as intentional in comparison to the lighter swatches. So as for comparisons, I have done a few cooler tone blues, but for my first comparison, I actually wanted to compare this to another Manic Panic dye, and that's going to be the color After Midnight. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. I've seen quite a few people use After Midnight and then they're really confused because it's not quite as cool toned as they thought it would be, so I thought this would be a good comparison. If you're looking for a cool toned blue from Manic Panic, at least so far from what I've done, the Rockabilly is going to be a better option. Also, I used to do 2 separate diluted sections, so this is diluted and this is diluted even more. So I'm actually going to put a piece of paper on top of the swatches so it's a little less distracting. Okay, so hopefully you can see the After Midnight is just, even on its own, not diluted, it is very warm. It has a lot of green in it for a blue, but I would still say it's in the blue category. It's just not a cool tone blue. I think the name makes it sound like it would be, but if anyone was curious, I hope this helped. And then I wanted to show the most similar blue that I've done as well, and that is going to be Overtone in the color Extreme Blue. This is comparable to number 12, number 11, number 10, and number 9. So even though I've done a handful of cool tone blues, Rockabilly Blue pretty much stands on its own. The reason I chose the Extreme Blue from Overtone is because it wasn't too dark and it was cool toned enough. But you can see in comparison, I think because it's a little bit more muted, it does look a little bit darker. And you can see on the diluted sections that it's just a little bit smoky for a blue. And by the way, this is not the blue for brown hair. I haven't done that one on my channel yet. The other 2 most similar blues that I had was Good Die Young and Blue Ruin. That one, undertone wise, is pretty good, but it does lean a lot darker. And then Lunar Tides in the color Blue Velvet. That one is a touch darker, not quite as dark as the Good Die Young, but it's a little bit more warm toned and leans a little bit more on the green side, especially after you dilute it. But now I'd like to get into the before and after clips. Those, as well as anything past this point in the video, will all be done in natural lighting. I hope this video helped. If you have a request, I do have a link below to a Google form you can fill out, but just remember, I only do brands that do not test on animals. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.